I can't remember when I first found the door. Maybe it had always been there, tucked between a boarded-up bakery and an alleyway filled with wind. Maybe it only appeared when I was finally quiet enough to see it. It wasn't grand, just a narrow, wooden frame with a single brass handle. No sign, no hours, only a feeling. I remember hesitating, as though the doorknob might vanish if I blinked too fast. But it didn't. It was warm and steady, and it turned easily in my nervous hand. The moment I stepped inside, the air changed. Heavier but not unpleasant, like the weight of an old quilt, the kind with stitching done by hand and stories sewn between each thread. Books, thousands of them, maybe millions. Every wall was covered in shelves, each shelf sagging slightly under the lives they carried. The scent of dust and lavender, candle wax and parchment, and silence. Not empty silence. Listening silence. A woman sat behind a curved desk, her hair silver, her eyes something older than time. She didn't ask my purpose, just gave a small smile and said, "You're welcome to look, but you won't find your story unless you stop trying." So I wandered. Each book bore no title, only a name on the spine. Most were names I didn't recognize, but then sometimes a chill would pass through me, and I'd see a name that felt familiar. A teacher, a stranger from the bus, a friend I hadn't thought of in years. Their books felt warm to the touch. And then I found mine. Not my story, exactly, but the book with my name. Faded ink, edges worn. I opened it. The pages were filled with things I'd never done, words I never said, places I might have gone had I not been so afraid. In one chapter, I lived in a cottage by the sea. In another, I sang to strangers on a subway platform and someone fell in love with me for the song. There were pages of laughter, pages of loneliness, pages I didn't understand, but somehow knew were mine. I closed the book and felt the ache of it. Not regret, not really, just a longing for all the selves I never became. The librarian appeared beside me, quiet as breath. "Most people cry when they read theirs," she said, "not because they missed out, but because they didn't know those lives mattered." I looked at her. "Are these real?" "They're unwritten," she said. "Not lost, just waiting. You can only write one story at a time, but we keep the rest safe just in case." I didn't ask who he was. Instead, I sat at a small table tucked beside a flickering lamp and read for a while longer. I read about the version of me who forgave faster, the one who danced more often, the one who said yes to things that frightened him. Eventually, I stood. The librarian nodded. "You'll forget this place," she said. "Everyone does. But the stories stay, and sometimes a line or two finds its way into your waking life." "Thank you," I said. She didn't answer. Just returned to her desk, a fountain pen moving slowly across a fresh, blank page. I stepped out into the alley, blinking at the light. The door was gone, but I walked a little slower that day, smiled more, called someone I hadn't spoken to in years. And when I passed the mirror that night, I thought just for a second that I saw a cottage window and heard a song I didn't know I'd written. I didn't sleep that night, not because I was afraid, but because I felt full, like I'd eaten a memory I couldn't digest yet. In the morning, I sat with coffee, watching the steam rise in slow spirals, and I wondered how many of us were walking around with unfinished stories inside. How many had almost kissed someone but didn't, almost quit the job, almost said what needed to be said but didn't. For days after, the world felt a little softer, like the corners had rounded out. I found myself looking more closely at people, strangers in line, neighbors at the mailbox, old photos in my phone. I wondered what their unwritten books might hold, what paths they almost took. And then one night, weeks later, I saw another door, not in the same place. This one was tucked between a laundromat and an empty lot, half hidden behind ivy. The door was green this time, cracked paint, a different handle. But I knew. Inside it was colder, the shelves taller, more narrow. The librarian was different too, an old man with ink-stained fingers and a voice like gravel. But he smiled the same way, like he'd been expecting me. "You've been here before," he said, "in a different chapter." I wasn't sure I'd find it again. "You don't find us," he said. "You remember us." This time the books weren't just about me. They were about the people I knew. Family. My mother. My grandfather. A friend I hadn't seen since school. Their books hummed when I passed them. Some had dozens of volumes. Some had only a few. I opened one at random. My uncle, I think. In one chapter, he ran a roadside diner on a lonely stretch of highway. In another, he adopted 2 kids he never had in real life. I saw pieces of him I never knew existed. Softness, fear, hope. Then I found her book, the one I once thought I'd spend forever with. In that world, we did. We grew old together, in a little house near the ocean, arguing about tea and laughing at nothing. Her hair went grey. Mine did too. There were wrinkles, gardens, little rituals, mornings spent in silence, just happy to be nearby. I closed the book with trembling hands. It didn't feel like regret. It felt like gratitude for having seen it. "Can I take any of these?" I asked. The librarian shook his head. "You can only live one story at a time, but they stay here, safe, always." I didn't want to leave, but something in me knew it was time. As I stepped toward the door, I looked back. "Will I remember more this time?" "You'll remember what matters," he said, "and that's always enough." Now I walk a little differently. I leave room for the unplanned. I say yes more often. I let silence last a little longer before filling it with noise. I listen more closely, not just to people, but to moments. And every so often when I pass an alley or a hidden garden gate, I glance sideways, just in case. I haven't found another door yet, but I know they're there. And maybe one day, if I'm very quiet, if I'm very still, a knob will appear beneath my hand again and I'll find another story, or maybe even start writing a new one. If this story kept you company or helped you feel a little more seen, I hope you'll leave a like. I post new stories regularly, and if you subscribe and turn on notifications, I'll be here whenever you need another place to rest.